Your house is worth whatever it's worth, right? Whoever sells it. Wrong. I'm Charlie. Welcome to Moving Home with Charlie, and thank you for coming.
Charlie Landing grew up in Sussex, is the founder of Best Agent and presenter of Moving Home with Charlie.
If you want to find one of these guys, look out for those compassionate professionals. All estate agents are not the same.
So Charlie, what would be your advice for people interested in buying new builds right now?
Don't overpay. Do buy, but don't overpay. That's why I say disregard the guff. Read into the numbers and look, and it's buried. The bad news is buried in the small print, okay?
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Property Press Awards.
They may or may not be telling the truth, but you should form your own view. Get out and view, get out and view, get out and view. You cannot be in a position to make offers and have no offers accepted if you're not viewing. So be out there viewing. Pay attention to the back of the class. If you've not been watching my videos, I did one just a couple of days ago. Disregard the guff, guys. This evening's live stream is specifically for sellers who are getting no viewings on their property despite having priced realistically and don't understand why or what to do about it. Okay, so not all sellers. I'm specifically talking to those of you who are really worried because you really thought you'd been realistic with your price and you're still getting tumbleweed blowing past your front door instead of people coming round to view. The reason for doing this video is to try to reduce the number of people who only wake up when it's too late and they've missed the market and end up thinking, we wish we had come to this realization 6 months ago or 12 months ago. And I already hear that September, here we are, late September 2025, I already hear of sellers who have missed the market, got offers a year ago that they thought weren't good enough and thought that if they waited they'd get better, and now they've got worse. I know there are places in the UK and there are certain property types where house prices aren't falling. And I'm not here to argue that this evening. But one of the things that made me want to do this video was this message I got on X this week from a chap called Dave Wright, who was talking to me about trying to sell his house in Cornwall. And I won't get into the details of it, but I said, look, if you price it right, you'll get viewings. And he replied, I normally agree with you, Charlie, but the problem isn't overvaluing, but the double council tax. Always fine, offers and buyers abounded. However, as most Cornish estate agents will tell you, after April, everything dropped off a cliff. The asking price is already the 2005 price. All right. So there are markets, and I've seen other markets where the market for certain properties has literally fallen off a cliff. And the point I want to make to sellers of those properties now is that if you don't obtain any offer on your house at all, then you don't have a decision to make. You don't have the option to sell, right? If you are sitting on with your house on the market with a for sale price up, but no viewings, you're powerless. You're not in a position to decide. You are in limbo. And what I want to get across to you is nobody has to accept an offer, right, that gets made if it's too low. But until you're getting offers, you don't know whether you should be staying or moving. And of course, as some of you on this channel have told me already, the market has already fallen away too much for your home to be able to move, and your moving plans, your downsizing plans are out the window. You can no longer afford to downsize because you won't have enough money left over to buy your other place without a mortgage and have something to live on. All right. And this is already happening. I don't have the numbers. I don't even have an idea what the numbers are, but I know that it's happening in increasing numbers. And I want to try to bust the myth that has become widespread amongst agents and sellers. Most agents, not all, most agents and most sellers, right? The question every seller wants to ask an agent when they come in the door is, so what do you think it's worth? What do you think it's worth? What do you think you can get for it? And I urge you to make that the first thing you change. Because the truth is, in this market, for some sectors of the market, the agents don't know. They genuinely do not know. That's not their fault. Doesn't make them bad agents. In fact, any agent that says to you, we don't know what we're going to get you for this house in the market, is an honest agent, and you should sit up and pay attention to those agents, right? A valuation is a guess at what a random buyer might pay. That is all a valuation is. And when you're bringing your house to the market, a valuation is of no use to you. Yes, you've got to work out what price to launch it at. That is not a valuation. That is determining the launch price. That has nothing to do with the value of your property or what you might sell it for, right? Your launch price only has one job, which is to get buyers through the door. Because without buyers through the door, you don't have a market. And without a market, you won't get offers and you won't find out what the current market today will pay you for your current property. And before I forget, for those of you thinking, oh, we'll wait for the spring market next year, the spring bounce, that's a massive mistake in this economic environment. Right? So just number one, stop thinking about valuations. It's all agents talk about, and it's a massive waste of everybody's time. And it's why when I'm talking to agents, I say, talk process, not prices. Because no amount of talking about prices achieves anything. Right? Think about it. You could sit there for 3 hours discussing the market, discussing the prices. Does that conversation make any difference to the sale of your house? No. Zero. Zip. Nada. Do not talk prices. It's a distraction from the job at hand. Right? And I know, because of the agents that I'm working with, that even when this agent, Carrington, says to the sellers, we will not give you a valuation, it would be a guess, and it will only serve to set false expectations when we don't know what's going to happen. Why do those sellers go with Carringtons? Because Carringtons are selling almost everything in under 3 weeks with multiple offers. Okay, because they know how to bring the market. And so the sellers are going and paying a healthy fee, 2% or more. Because sellers will pay. Sellers are happy to pay a good fee when they know they're going to get a good result. But one of the things that has absolutely blown my mind, excuse me, in my conversations with these agents and other agents, is the abject astonishment at the suggestion that you don't discuss the value. And that is golden rule number one of my approach when I'm teaching agents, is you don't discuss the value because it's irrelevant. It's guesswork. It's gambling. It's pointless, right? Agents do it because they want to pretend they know what they're talking about. And there are agents who know the market well, but even the good ones don't know what a house will sell for. Even if they sold one just like it last week, because by the time the next one sells, it's 3 months down the line, and anything could have happened by then. And right now, 3 months from now, we'll be after the autumn budget that's coming in. The market will have changed by then. Maybe for the better for some people and for worse for others, but it will have changed. So what I'm trying to say to sellers is, discussing value is a waste of your time and the agent's time. It's pointless because you are literally discussing guesswork, and you've got to stop it. And if you don't stop it, all that will happen is that you will force your agent to give you an uncomfortably optimistic number, because that's all they know how to do. Right? That's all they will ever do. And then you will have unreasonable expectations of what you're going to get for your house. And that will cause you to miss the market while you sit there waiting and wondering why you've got no viewings. You've got no viewings because you asked the agent What do you think my house is worth? What do you think you might get for it? The reason you have no valuations is because that was the question you asked. And all you cared about was who's going to say the highest number, or who's going to say the number we most believe, and you didn't ever ask, how do you get my house sold? Okay, because to anyone who thinks, oh, you just put it on Rightmove, well, go and have a look at Rightmove and see that there are well over 500,000 unsold homes sitting there. And then tell me again that it's easy to sell a house. Absolute dipstick. Anyone who thinks that all you have to do is put a house on Rightmove. That is patently, provably false and foolish to believe. Right? The job of an estate agent is to create a market for each individual home because they are all unique. Okay? And when they don't do that and they just put it on Rightmove, it sits there for months and months and months. So you must insist on stopping the discussion about values. All right? When you understand that the agent doesn't know what it's going to sell for, then you realize that, hang on, this is a pointless conversation. It's a pointless conversation. Do not discuss value. I can't say enough, but the thing is, I say this, and then it's still all that happens. And tomorrow, there will be thousands of estate agents in thousands of sellers' front rooms going, let's talk about the value of your house. Let's talk about, and what you need to say is, no, I don't want to discuss the value because we don't know what the value is. You don't know what the value is. Nobody knows what the value is. What we want to talk about is how you're going to get viewings. That's all we want to talk about. How will you get viewings? And even if you do that, this doesn't solve your problem as sellers. And I'm just so sorry for all of the sellers who are being let down by the thousands and thousands of incompetent agents out there who go, yay, of course we will, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, no problem, we'll get on the market, we'll get the viewings round, just sign here on the long side into contract, and then off they go, and it's the last you hear from them, and then weeks later there are no viewings. It happens every day. There's a new one every single day. There will be people watching this video who are going to make the mistake. They're going to invite round agents. They're going to say, well, we watched a video where Charlie said, don't talk about values. We'd love to just talk. And they'll go, oh, don't listen to him. He's just an idiot on YouTube. We're agents. We know the market. But a good agent does. But still, they will then give you their usual scripted nonsense to get you to sign on the dotted line of their contract, which you shouldn't do. Okay. Now, some of you have followed my advice and have gone to agents and said, because you've already had a bad experience, I don't want you to guess at the value of my home. I've already done that once or twice with other agents and it hasn't worked out. So please do not waste my time with yet another guess. What I want to know is and there are agents responding to that saying, oh, we don't really understand that. And this brings me on to what's probably the biggest problem causing this problem in the market right now, which is that most estate agents haven't been around long enough to remember a time when you didn't just win an instruction with a high valuation and then wait and it sells in the market. They don't understand this market. And they believe their own valuations. Literally, they are convinced. They're not confident, but they believe that what they're saying is what they believe is the truth. In other words, they believe their own lies. They don't think that they're lying to themselves. They are lying, but they're believing it themselves. And that's why it's so convincing. Okay? Because as we saw in that article in the Telegraph, this article, and by the way, if you didn't see it, go and watch 5 Fact Friday from a couple of days ago, all right, where I went through this article at length. It's in the second half, right? But there's an agent down here, and this is proof of what I'm trying to explain to you. There's an agent down there. Let me find it. I want to quote it because you have to read it to believe it. You have to see it to believe the full extent of the stupidity. Sorry, I should have found this before I started. Here we are. The estate agent stands by the valuation. Again, this is a property that's been on the market since March. 8 viewings, no offers, right? On the market since March, 8 viewings, no offers, stands by the valuation. That's like saying, I don't understand my job. That is literally like saying, I don't get the mechanics of the estate agency market, the property market. Standing by a valuation that 6 or 8 months later is proving to you and your client that you were wrong is pure professional ignorance and suicide and just unspeakable stupidity. And the reason it's happening so much is that there are so many agents who don't understand what to do. They don't understand what the market's doing, and they don't know any other way to win your business than to give you a number that makes you feel comfortable. And you can probably sense the sort of despair and desperation in my voice about this. And this is because of how many sellers are having their chances of selling thrown away and ruined and lost because of the incompetence of the agents that they use and agents that they choose. And that's why I say golden rule number 1, do not sign a long sole agency contract, right? They're going to make you sign a contract, and in it will have a sole agency contract period, and it'll be 12 or 16 or 20 or even 26 weeks. And you must say, no, I'm not waiting that long to sell my house, right? You must say, you get 4 weeks. And if I'm not happy with your progress after 4 weeks, I want to be able to leave. I do not want to be stuck with an agent that doesn't understand their job or overvalued my home, or both. You must point blank refuse to sign a sole agency contract that's longer than 4 weeks. So no, won't do it. I'll go with you if you want to go with them, but do not say, I need to be free to move if you fail me. I cannot be stuck on your books because you're failing to sell my house and they're going to blame the market and blame the price or blame my expectations. I cannot be stuck on the market with you and need to move agent and not be able to. So I will not sign longer than a 4-week sole agency contract. That's what I'd be saying, right? And what you should be asking agents for, instead of a plucked out of their ass guess at what your house might sell for, is how do you ensure that we get competing bids on this property? If they don't know, send them out and get another agent in and keep on going and keep talking to agents until you find one that goes, I've been around the block enough times. I've been here long enough. I know this market. And in this market, this is what you have to do. Now, I'm going to come on to that's, by the way, that was tip 3, price for viewing. So number 1, by the way, please don't make the mistake. If you are struggling to sell your home, thinking, okay, this is how it goes. People like the guys in that Telegraph article put the house on the market in March this year. It's now September. They've had no offers in 8 months. And out of desperation, the agent might say something like, look, we might need to wait until the spring. Wait for the spring market. Everything's better in the spring. It'll always come back in the spring. And this is a pivotal T-junction where, as a seller, depending on your reasons for selling, you must make a very strong decision. Okay? All the economic data is that the economy and therefore the housing market are going to get worse in the next 6 months. And if you need to sell and you wait, it's only going to get worse. And you'll find yourself in spring 2026 wishing you'd just taken whatever offers you could have got in 2025. And this is what happens. I see sellers who are taking their property off the market, waiting to come back on, thinking it's going to get better, because this utter myth that I have spent 3 years trying to explode, but which most people, especially who haven't seen my channel, still believe, is that house prices will always go up. And whilst in the very long term, there may be some truth in that, when you're trying to sell now in the next few years because you need to retire, you need to downsize, you need to relocate, and you're in certain sectors of the market, it's not going to be true for some considerable time. And even the house prices that are rising at the moment are not rising as fast as wages. They're not keeping up with inflation. So in real terms, they're actually devaluing anyway. But at the top, the downsizers market, right? People in family homes who don't need them anymore and want to downsize to a smaller home that costs less to run and release some of their equity that they thought they had, but are now beginning to come to terms with the fact they don't have that anymore. It's a brutal, brutal market out there. So what are your options? Well, decide to stay put. That's one of the only options people have. And again, this is one of the things that's stupidly clogging up the housing market and why they should scrap stamp duty, because stamp duty is the deciding factor for a lot of these people. When they see the offer that they get, they think, well, how much council stamp duty do we have to pay if we downsize? It's too much money. So option one is to decide to stay put. Option two is you decide to meet the market no matter what it is. You decide to accept that the market determines the price of your house. Whatever it is, you must sell and go. And option three, which is what most people are doing, is just sitting there waiting with an asking price and no viewings. Now, those of you for whom that is happening, those of you sitting on the market with no viewings, wondering why, you have chosen option three, right? Because don't think you haven't. You are deciding not to take your house off the market and keep it and stay there, right? And you are deciding not to lower your price enough to get viewings. Now, you may not have consciously made those decisions, but you have subconsciously made the decisions. We're not going to take it off the market and scrap our move. Neither are we going to lower the price enough to get viewings. We're just going to sit here on the market with a price that has no viewings because the agent said they stand by their valuation. You should ask the agent, do you stand by your valuation enough to guarantee it? That's if an agent says they stand by their valuation, say, do you stand by your valuation enough to guarantee it? Can you guarantee you'll get me that price? And of course they can't. And when they say they can't, they say, well, can we have another discussion about what we need to be pricing this at? But if you are in limbo and wondering, look, we don't know whether or not we can move until we have an offer. And isn't that the case for all of you? Right? Until you've got an offer, you don't know if you can move. And if you only get one offer, it's going to be lower than if you can get competing offers. Which is why I say the launch price, and it's not too late if it's been on the market for a long time. If you price it really seriously, such that it sends a market out to buyers who are watching, okay, these sellers, all right, whatever reason, they were unrealistic for a while, they're no longer unrealistic. They've just made a massive price cut. They are creating a market for their home. You can create that market for your home. And if you get multiple bids and they're proceedable, right? Bids from cash buyers or first-time proceedable buyers, and you've had more, you've competing bids, you can be confident that today that's the maximum price the market will offer for your home. And of course, you can then decide to take it or not take it. Okay. At least you know where you stand. At least you know where you stand if you have managed to get multiple viewings and multiple offers. Even if those offers aren't what you wanted, you will know that that is the value of your home right now. That is the only way to know the value of your home in this market, is to have multiple competing offers in this market. Now, there might be some sellers watching this thinking, but it's too awful to bear. I cannot come to terms with the fact that my £4 million house might only be worth £1.8 million. I've lost £2 million. No, you haven't. You never had it in the first place. So why is this the case? Well, I mean, first of all, go back to 2022 on this channel and look for the video called Welcome to 2025. and you'll begin to understand why Alex Groundwater wrote that video and why I published it. Just search. I want to give it to you right now, right? Because it will just help you understand why. I can't find it straight away. It's there. But what I'm going to try and do now in a very short space of time is to provide some information about why, for certain houses, there doesn't seem to be any market at all. And this is a generalization, and I wish Sticky was here because he can do it better than me. But since 2022, people's disposable income, people's wealth, people's savings have been eviscerated by the cost of living, by inflation, by tax, and now by the jobs market. And it's been a perfect storm of all of those things that has just wiped out the budgets of people normally in the market for those kinds of homes. And there is, I mean, that's why Kirsty Allsop did a story in the Telegraph 3 days ago saying the property market is dead. I mean, those are very powerful words from someone like Kirsty Allsop and for the Telegraph to publish, right? The property market is dead. Now, not the whole thing, of course. And if you're a first-time buyer watching this, thinking, God, Charlie, everything I go for are multiple bids. I am not addressing first-time buyers here, right? I'm sorry, the guys, this is not a video for you. And I know that first-time buyer type properties, it's a different market. I am talking to people selling detached homes and trying to downsize and wondering where the hell the market has gone. I could sit here and spin off a number of anecdotes of things that have happened in the last few months that are very, very powerful signs that we are in a serious recession, if not across the board, in several major sectors of society. And the people who traditionally have the most disposable income are the ones who've been hit the hardest and arguably blindsided and didn't see it coming. And do not feel like you're alone, by the way, if you are stuck with a house you can't sell, right? Because again, if you're not paying attention to random nutters like me on YouTube and you just look at the newspapers and the headlines and the BBC, you will be under no impression that there's any problem in the housing market whatsoever. You will still think house prices go up, they double every 10 years, can't go wrong, bricks and mortar, blah, blah, blah. My pension, I bought this place 30 years ago, my pension. If you haven't been paying attention and looking beyond the headlines, this is going to blindside you. And if you're watching this and thinking of a friend who's in this boat, send them this video. Please send them this video, because what's the benefit? Well, they can either stay in the dark and miss the market and miss any last chance they might have had of selling before it's too late, or they can watch this video and it might wake them up, make them change their mind and go, okay, all right, yeah, actually those things do make sense. Now I come to think about it. Now I take my rose-tinted glasses off, my rose-tinted BBC spectacles off. And yes, let's get viewings. Let's price for viewings. That's tip number 3 down there, right? Tip number 1, do not wait. Do not wait. Do not wait. Do not think that waiting for the market, there's not going to be any market. The market is not going to be coming back for at least the duration of this parliament. Okay? So waiting is going to make it worse if you're downsizing. If you're upsizing, happy days. If you're downsizing, not happy days. Number 2, valuations are meaningless. Ignore them. Disregard. Don't pay any attention to them. Number 3, price your property to get people through the door. That's the only way to create a market. Now, look, one of the other reasons, right, that people don't have the money for these big houses anymore is that the heating costs and the running costs for big houses are disproportionately higher than they are for smaller, ordinary size homes. Disproportionately higher. So where someone's heating bill in a big house might have been 700 quid a month 5 years ago, that's now 2 to 3 grand a month because of how inefficient these big homes are and how expensive they are to heat and how hard they are to heat. And I have this on first-hand experience, right? The people who've been living in £2 million homes saying, literally can't afford to heat it, cannot afford to heat it, need to sell it. And the people looking to buy now are looking at it and going, I can't afford 50 grand a year to heat that place either. And I'm not joking, right? I'm not joking. The total running costs of large houses now can easily be £1,000 a week of large houses. 5-6 years ago, large houses were worth lots of money, worth millions. It's a large house. Who wouldn't want it? It'd be lovely. It's fantastic. Yeah, not with the running costs of today. So that's had a disproportionately brutal impact on big houses, as has the cost of refurbishments. So buyers are looking at these places and going, no, that's going to be too much money to refurbish and too much money to heat. No. That's what's happening. And the number of buyers who've even got the money to do that at the moment, don't forget, we are facing a massive white-collar recession. AI is taking more white-collar jobs than it is blue-collar jobs. It's absolutely brutal out there, and it's only going to be getting worse. So I say again, if you are sitting on the market wondering why your house isn't selling and you've got no viewings, you've made the decision, one, not to lower your price to get viewings. You may not have realized it, but by doing nothing, you are effectively making that decision, right? You're not pricing for viewings. If you've got no viewings, you haven't priced for viewings. There are no exceptions to this. There are no exceptions. Now, are there certain very large houses where there might be some seasonal impact on it? Just because of where the buyers are at this time of year? Possibly. There might be some extreme exceptions. But generally speaking, if you price a property well enough, any time of year, people will come and view it. And you make it look like it's good value, people will come and view it. And if they like it, they're going to start bidding. And then you know what you could sell it for or not. Okay? But the market for those homes has evaporated for all the reasons I just described. Wow. Timo293, lender valued my leasehold at 340,000 in 2022, sold it in 2024 for 285,000, 2,000 less than you paid for it in 2018. Thank you, Anna G. That's exactly the video I was looking for. Welcome to 2025, A Cautionary Tale of Middle-Class Impoverishment by Alex Groundwater. That's exactly the one. Timo again says, when will people learn their property is not an investment pension asset? Well, a lot of people are learning it now, the hard way, and this is exactly what I was warning against back in 2022. Do we have any sellers in this situation who've got a question? I'm sorry, I can see there are some buyer questions here, but I'm really just wanting to look at the seller questions. Joshua says, is it normal for an agent to carry out an EPC assessment for a property that they're selling? Yeah, because it's a legal requirement to have an EPC when you put a house on the market. So if it doesn't already have one, then yes, it's normal for that to happen. All right, guys. Sorry, not my usual entertaining, cheerful, etc. But all I'm seeing every day, and the messages I get all the time from sellers, we've been realistic on price, but we're not getting any viewings. What are we doing wrong? The market is just worse than you thought, basically. And agents aren't helping because, to be honest, agents are being caught off guard by this as well. Admin Spark says the value equals the sold price. Correct. I don't get that question. Sorry, Admin Sparks, I don't understand that question. Is it inappropriate? Oh, I see. Okay. All right. Yeah, but this is a buyer question. I'm just looking for sellers here. The sellers are always very, very quiet in these videos. I know you're watching, guys. I know you're watching. No, Ian, sorry, you're wrong. Do you need an agent, Charlie? Ian, you obviously don't know. Either that's a joke or you don't know what I do. I'm not an estate agent, never have been, but I've provided estate agents with technology for 25 years. I'm going to share with you something now. Hold on a second. Here it is. So the agent I work with, Carrington's in Kingston, I'm about to be working with lots more agents, hopefully. They recently had one of their landlords. So Ian Kelly's question here is, what's wrong with selling your own house? Do you need an agent? I'm sorry, I misunderstood your question to begin with, Ian. So let's just start again. Ian Kelly asks, do you need an agent? I thought you meant, did I need an agent because you put my name on it? So do you need an agent? What's wrong with selling your own house? As long as you price it up reasonably, you will stoke interest and save on paying agent. Right. Ian, if you think about how hard it is for agents to sell at the moment, and they do it all day, every day for a living, dealing with time-wasting buyers, shit kickers, tire kickers, all that kind of stuff. And here is a very recent exact example of why it can be a mistake to sell on your own, right? So Carrington's, a few months back, we helped a client on Bonus Crescent who was all set to sell privately at a certain price. Before anything was final, they asked us to double check with our market discovery process, my market discovery process that I taught them. Good thing they did. The place turned out to be worth £65,000 more than expected. In other words, more than the seller was about to sell it for privately. We went back to the same buyer with the new price and they agreed, and the sale has now completed. The seller walked away with a much better deal. The buyer knew they were paying a fair price. So that's why, right? Because good agents know how to create a market for property and will often and usually get more than if you sell it privately. Anyone can sell privately if you've got the time and can put up with the hassle and the uncertainty of it, but you're much less likely to get the best price for it if you sell on your own. So then you're definitely not saving on paying it. So this seller thought he might be saving on paying an agent fees, but actually it would have been a false economy. And the assumption that you're saving if you don't pay agents fees has an inherent assumption there, which is that you'll get the same price no matter who sells it, but that's not true, because the price you get depends on how well the market is created for that property. Okay. XL2828 says, I'd like to see valuations linked to sales fees, i.e. if the initial valuation is too high, then the commission percentage should be reduced. Yeah, there just shouldn't be any valuations, XL2828. I'm working on an idea now where actually you offer your agent, if you're a seller, you say, right, I'll pay you 2% if it's under offer in 28 days. If it takes longer than that, it's going to drop to 1.5%, and then I'll give you up to 3 months. And if it goes beyond 3 months, I'm dropping it to 1%. That will sort the men from the boys of the agents. Yeah, never, ever, ever look at online valuations. Guys, the online valuations are a massive scam to get your data. That's all they are. Instant online valuation. There's no such thing. And even the ones you do get that are arguably the best you can get are still plus or minus 10%. What good is that? Wow. Merrin Somerset, so Angela Ramsey says, Merrin Somerset Webb, who's that Bloomberg columnist, who I've met, said in a panel in 2008-2009 that the property market had not bottomed and the quantitative easing was creating a massive bubble, big burst of deflation coming. A lot of people think that, yeah. No, there's not going to be a spring bounce. Let's get down to the bottom questions. No, there's not going to be a market rise in 2026. Yeah, change is coming says it's playing out right now in real time. And if you wait until it's news, you've already missed the boat. Correct. Oh, Amber, congratulations. Just had offer accepted. House was advertised to sell, offers over 500. House had multiple views, went to best of final, and we won the bid at 540. Well done. Congratulations. As long as you're happy with the price. And congratulations to the agent selling that house on creating a market for it. They did a good job. Amber, who was that agent? Do you mind letting me know which agent it was? Because that's good to know, good to see. By the way, guys, if any of you have experienced an unusually good estate agent, could you please let me know who they are? I would really, this is a call. I'm putting out a call. I want to find out about all of the agents out there. There aren't very many. They are in the extreme minority. There may be 5 or 10%. 90% of them are not up to this standard, but 5 or 10% are really good. And if you know of or have experienced an agent that you thought was outstandingly better than the others, would you send me just send me a private message with their details? Let me know which agent it was, where they were. I'd really appreciate that. You can email me. I slightly hesitate to do this because I know I'm going to get spammed to death with other stuff, but charlie@mhwc.co.uk. I would love to know. Or LinkedIn, send me a private message on LinkedIn, or a private message on Instagram, or a private message on TikTok, or a private message on X. That'd be my preferred. All right, it'd be really cool. But I would genuinely love to hear about every single really good estate agent out there at the moment. Because like Carrington's, a lot of those really good agents so when Carrington's came to me at the beginning of the year, it's because overvaluing by other agents was really hurting them. And they're good agents, as they've now proved, right? And I'm very, very keen to help out any other agents facing the same problem from overvaluing weak agents. Right, guys, this was an unscheduled Sunday night live stream. Public message ends. Thanks a lot for watching. If you are selling, in the description below is a link to my video, Charlie's 10 Golden Rules for Home Sellers. Please, if you only do one thing, watch that video and then choose your conveyancer first. Have a great Sunday evening. Good luck selling your home.